Join the Discord, link down in the description. Thank you. In this video, I'm going to show you a build that looks like a meme at first, but actually it turns out this is one of the strongest hunter builds in the game when you learn how to use it correctly. This build will not only give you a consistent damage buff, it will actually give you non-stop one-shot throwing knives. So let me show you how it works. So let's start off with the hunter exotic, Asher's Embrace. This exotic will buff up your weighted throwing knife to make it have super tracking as well as one shot to the body. The way you get this very powerful buff is with the Skittering Sting exotic perk. How this works is whenever you hit 3 precision hits, it will grant you the strengthened knife throwing buff for 10 seconds, and even more precision hits will extend this timer up to 30 seconds. Now with this buff going, your knife is going to do 100% bonus damage, making it so it can actually one hit to the body. And secondly, this exotic will make it so your knife can bounce twice. Now on paper, this doesn't look that crazy, but trust me, it is insane. And this is probably the best part about this exotic. So the second bounce of the knife, it has absurd tracking. So when you throw your knife, you want to aim it at the floor and have it hit the floor and bounce into the wall. And then from the wall, it will have some crazy tracking, as you can see from the gameplay. And if you end up just throwing the knife at the wall, it will not have super aimbot level tracking. So that's why you need to hit the ground first and then into the wall. Once you start getting good at this, it can be actually pretty funny, the crazy knife kills that you can get. It's insane, the tracking, and I've been hit on the other side of it. I don't have a recording of it, but just watching the knife like aimbot onto you is so funny. And the fact that it can one-shot kill, it just makes it super, super strong, especially on some closer quarter maps. Now that we've gone over how strong this knife is, let's talk about how we're going to get it very often. Now, starting off with our first aspect, it's going to be knock 'em down. This aspect overall is great. It will buff up one of the supers that you choose. I personally think for 6s, one of the 2 goldies is great. 6 shooter is great if you're going for stuff like 7th column, but the 3 shot is great for lasting long and making sure you pretty much get 3 guaranteed kills. And then for 3v3, I recommend Blade Brush because it has a pretty low cooldown and is a pretty good shutdown super as well. But this aspect has another effect, and the main reason that we're going to be using it. The effect is that it will refund a melee charge whenever you get a throwing knife kill. We're going to make this very easy for us by mixing in our first fragment, which is going to be Ember of Torches. This will make it so anytime you hit somebody with your melee, you become radiant. So now with this fragment, not only do you get a very powerful buff of radiant to add to our weapons, you will also get your charged knife back, making it so it's a nice little loop. You hit a melee charge, they'll die from the one-shot body, you'll get radiant, it will refund you a knife. You can just keep charging it, and if you keep hitting knives, you will keep getting them back over and over and over again. Hey, and just real quick, if you are enjoying this build so far, please remember to leave a like and subscribe, as well as tell me some other builds that you think I should try down in the comments below. All right, back to the build. So the second aspect we're going to be running is On Your Mark. This aspect is great for making your weapons just feel amazing. Precision Final Blows will grant you increased weapon handling and reload speed, stacking up to 3 times. But if you use your class ability, you'll immediately get 3 stacks of this. It's kind of like a mini Dragon Shadow, honestly. Super, super strong. But this works perfectly with our Marksman Dodge, which we're going to be spamming a lot to get even more knives. Anytime we dodge close to somebody, we are going to get a knife. So not only will you have super good feeling weapons, you'll almost always have a free knife as long as you're dodging close to enemies. In terms of grenades, I would highly recommend either the Healing Grenade or Swarm Grenade, depending on what you're looking for. Healing is great for staying alive in gunfights, but Swarms are just very, very strong right now and super, super deadly. The second fragment we're going to be using is Ember of Solace. This is just going to make it so our Radiant will last even longer whenever we are hitting our melees, as well as if you choose to use the Healing Grenade, we'll make the Restoration last a little bit longer there as well. The third fragment we're going to be using is Ember of Beams. This will increase the aim assist of whatever super you choose to use, which overall just makes them better, makes the Golden Guns have a way bigger hitbox, and the Blade Barrage track even more. Plus, it will give you plus 10 to your intellect, which is always great. And the fourth fragment we're going to be using is Ember of Combustion. This will make it so your super will cause targets to ignite and will also create fire sprites, and as well as give you a plus 10 to your strength. Then lastly, for our fifth fragment, we're going to be running Ember of Mercy. This will make it so whenever you pick up a fire sprite, you will get restoration, as well as whenever you revive an ally, you and them will also get restoration. Plus, it will give you a nice 10 to resilience, which is always fantastic for PvP. Now that we've talked about our build setup, let's talk about weapons. So for this build, I would highly recommend weapons that shoot a bit quicker because you only need to hit 3 headshots. It makes it a lot easier to get those 3 headshots with, say, something like an auto rifle, a pulse rifle, or a hand cannon. 3 headshots from a hand cannon is going to kill the target, which isn't too bad, but you can fight somebody through a whole engagement and get a ton of headshots with something like an auto rifle. So the perfect weapon that comes to a lot of people's mind is Monte Carlo. This is a 600 RPM AR that makes it very easy to farm those headshots, as well as will give you your melee charge back pretty consistently on kills or even just shooting people with the gun. Plus, it also has essentially Swashbuckler on it, making it so whenever you get a knife kill, it will do 40 damage to the head. That is a 0.5 time to kill. That is crazy. Literally a machine gun in your hands whenever you get a throwing knife kill. And overall, this is an amazing pairing for this build. The only downside is if you're playing against a higher skill team or even just are on a bigger map, I think you want to opt out for something like a high impact pulse rifle. It will still net you those headshots, it just won't refund you the melees as freely. But for most things such as quick play, I think Monte Carlo works fantastic. In terms of armor mods, I would suggest for your helmet, you run one hands on. That will help you get a lot of super energy, then a targeting for your primary, and then if you have room, just run a targeting for your secondary. For the arms, I would run heavy-handed, a reloader for your primary, and then if you have room, an impact induction or fastball. Then for the chest, I would just run 2 to 3 unflinchings for your primary. For your legs, run 1 better already, 1 recuperation, and 1 holster for whatever your secondary is. And then lastly, the cloak, I would just run 1 reaper and 2 bomb. For the stat splits, I would highly recommend building into mobility and recovery, and then lastly, discipline or intellect, whatever one you prefer. For this build, you don't really need to build too much into strength, because you have so many ways of getting your knife back without having to wait for the cooldown. Plus the Asher's exotic will also give you plus 50 to your strength whenever you have the weighted knife perk going, just making it so you can get a lot of strength. So that in itself, with our fragments, we're just getting 60 strength either way. So no matter what, you're probably going to be in the higher echelons of strength anyway. So not really a point to build into it. Now let's talk about the playstyle for this build. Overall, you're going to want to play this one a little bit slower to net your headshots, make sure you can get your stat going, then just start throwing your knife safely. Realistically, you can just chuck it into a crowd of people half the time and you will typically get somebody. So there's not really a reason to ever overcommit with this. And for the most part, as long as you throw a throwing knife in an okay spot and you make sure you're using the trick to hit the ground and into the wall, you'll typically net somebody. And then whenever you don't have a knife, obviously try to make sure you dodge close to somebody. It does go through walls, so try to, get somebody who's a little bit close if you see them on your radar ping, and just dodge to get your knife back sometimes. But the big thing is also just learning the best spots to really line up on each map. There are just certain maps and certain spots that almost can net you a free kill every time because people are always jiggle peeking certain angles, and it is very easy for you to line up a shot onto the wall and hit them with it. The hardest part is just getting the buff going sometimes. But it's only 3 headshots. If you're using something like an auto rifle or a pulse, it is super easy to do that. Overall, this build isn't super complex by any means, and more people see it as a meme build, but it honestly is one of the strongest builds in the game if you do learn how to master these throwing knives and get good with them. It's very strong, and I'm always terrified of a good Asher user. Hey, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to me. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already for more build videos. And if you watch a fair amount of my videos, just be sure to double check that you are subscribed. And if you did enjoy this video, you might enjoy these 2 on the right side of the screen. Thank you so much, and have a good rest of your day.